Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Fresh Happenings!
Somebody's had a Red Bull.
Today we're looking at what TV shows and films are better than their respective books.
And just so you know, this is our opinion, where we don't really want much hate, but we have the right to have our own opinion, and you can disagree with it.
I disagree with you. Bring on the hate. We can take it. You're just a sensitive man, whereas I am a wall of...
I thought you were going to say a Wolverine then.
I am a Wolverine. It's my spirit animal. Rawr.
Well, I don't know. What do you think my spirit animal is?
Probably like a goose.
What is your first book that's not as good as the film?
Game of Thrones.
Hate.
I'll tell you why, right? One, they take about 500 hours per book, as opposed to the show, which is 10 hours per book, which is, you know, the equivalent season. And it's more streamlined on the show as well. They cover a lot more of the main storyline in a smaller amount of time. And I think, to me, that's just a positive.
But the show has slightly gone downhill now it's venturing away from the books.
But what I was about to say, another reason it's better is because it overtook the books. So now is currently the main Game of Thrones canon for, you know, the future of the series. The Winds of Winter, he's been writing it since 1994, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And he's still writing it now, and it's not due out for release for another 5 years. So by that time, the show would have finished. So it really is the main Game of Thrones source material.
Yeah, I can't really argue that we are waiting forever for the books. The books are good. There are pros and cons of both, so I can't really poo-poo you on that.
Okay, your turn.
Jumanji.
Oh, right, yeah. You've read Jumanji.
Jumanji's a picture book. I hadn't read it previously, but when you put out what were films better than the books, I did have a quick Google and discovered that Jumanji was I didn't realise this, was a 70s book, and it's just pictures. So all the film did was took those pictures from the picture book and actually put a storyline to it. Can't argue that that's better. They've developed on the basic idea from the book.
And now they've got The Rock in it.
Yeah, have you seen the new film?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, there we go. So definitely better than the book.
Yeah.
What's your number 2?
Sticking with the fantasy realms, let's go for it. J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings.
I knew it was coming, and you are going to get hate for this.
No, it's absolutely true. This is the only thing you can say about The Lord of the Rings. It is boring.
The books.
The books, yeah. I've read those things from start to finish twice, and it was not more entertaining the second time. It was worse the second time. Yet he describes every minute detail on their trek to Mordor from the Shire. Every little grain of dirt on the road he describes. It's just like every little leaf. The opening of the book's so it's so grueling, you know.
Yeah,
dealing with Frodo's little party in the Shire, you know, to travelling through and staying with that weird old man in the woods.
Tom Bombadil.
Yeah, running around naked, you know, slapping each other's bums with towels and stuff like that. Some weird old man looking after some young boys in the woods, you know.
Yeah.
Hobbits, obviously.
Yeah.
I've read Lord of the Rings twice. I know it's boring.
My number 2 is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is better than the Roald Dahl book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Okay.
And there's one simple reason.
Why?
Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
The way I imagined Willy Wonka was more like the Johnny Depp version.
Oh, yeah.
Like
the Tim Burton
creepy. But now, when anyone says Willy Wonka, I can't get away from Gene Wilder. And I loved that book as a kid. But Gene Wilder was so perfect in that role that I think him alone makes the film better than the book. And the Oompa Loompas. Them songs are awesome.
This is an interesting one. I don't know if you've seen this one, Jeff, but Interview with the Vampire.
I haven't read the book, I have seen the film, and I love the film.
The film is awesome.
I think it's Tom Cruise's best role.
I would completely agree with you on that as well.
I want to say LaBeouf, but it's not LaBeouf.
No, that's Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Do it! Just do it!
It's Lestat.
Lestat, that's it.
Yeah. That movie is terrific. Brad Pitt and Kirsten Dunst and Antonio Banderas and Tom Cruise, they all own it in that movie. It's really dark and cool and brooding, and just it's got that kind of 90s flavour to it as well. And then I was like, oh, I really like that film. I'll give the book a bash. The book's a novel by Anne Rice. Not for me. That's actually one of those books that I got about just over three quarters of the way through, and thought, no,
What, you actually stuck it out for that long?
I stuck
and
out
then
for that
gave
long,
up?
and I was just like, no, yeah, we're done, Anne Rice, and I'm not reading any more of the Vampire Chronicles. Interview with a Vampire is a rubbish novel and a great movie.
My next one is the Horrible Histories series. I loved, as you know from other videos, I love history, and one of the main reasons I got into it was the Horrible Histories book series. Now, anyone who hasn't watched the CBBC series
I never watched it.
is missing out. If you've got YouTube on after this video, go over to just listen to the songs that they do. They are brilliant. That series, just go give it a try. I cannot recommend it enough. It's not just for kids. A brilliantly written, brilliantly acted, and the music is mwah.
My next one is Stephen King's It. Now, I've read that book 3 times, maybe, over my lifetime. I don't know why. It's one of those books that, as a kid, I was just like, oh, this is amazing. I really enjoyed the 90s movie as well, which is also bad.
Oh, so you're not doing it as the 90s movie?
No, it's not the 90s movie.
Is the 90s movie better than the book, though?
No. No, it's not. But the new movie it just streamlines this bulky story. Anyone who's read Stephen King's It knows that it's an absolute doorstopper. There's tons of stuff in it that just isn't relevant. If you're not into Stephen King's multiverse and the mythology behind all his novels, there's a lot of stuff in there that you won't care about or won't even get because it's so deep, you know. Whereas what the movie does is take all that stuff out and just makes a nice streamlined horror adventure movie. Not to say that the book's not good. It is good in its own way. It is just a bit of a slog.
It kind of brings me on to my next one, where you can pretty much repeat the last 2 minutes of your dialogue with Stephen King's Misery. It's kind of a crossover between the points I already made on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and the points you just made on It.
Yeah.
That Kathy Bates in that, I was going to say Kathy Burke then, that would be a completely different movie.
It would be, yeah.
Kathy Bates in that film, that screenshot of her looking over the bed is just iconic.
Yeah, my next one's going to be a bit of a curveball. Avengers Infinity War. Now, arguably this is based on several comic books, but for the sake of the argument, I'm going to base it on its original source material, which is a comic book from the early 90s called Infinity Gauntlet. Now, this comic is just all over the shop. The comic itself actually centers around a character called Adam Warlock, who, for the entire 9 issues or whatever it is, fails to tell the Silver Surfer, who's the second main character in this, what the plan is. And the plan is for him to snatch the Infinity Gauntlet somehow away from Thanos, so he can just be the one to take control of it and not use it for bad deeds like Thanos is. But Thanos actually loses the gauntlet to his daughter, Nebula, halfway through it, and she takes it over, and then Thanos teams up with...
See, I'm lost already.
Exactly. It's not good. It's not a good story. It's not fun. And I think for that, taking that original source material and then putting it into what we saw in the movie that came out a few months ago, it's just an awesome adaptation in that sense. In fact, like, that's a brilliant adaptation in that sense, because the source material sucks.
My next one is Muppets Treasure Island.
All right, yeah.
There's been so many adaptations of Treasure Island, and the book is one of those books that my granddad tried to pass down to me, saying it was a great adventure book that he enjoyed as a child.
Long John Silver.
It kind of falls again into the Lord of the Rings vein, where it was written in a different time and with a different style, and it's not very punchy. It's just a bit of a slog to get through. Muppets Treasure Island went, and then put Tim Curry in it.
Tim Curry's in a lot of the adaptations we've talked about.
Yeah, I know. It's quite a loose adaptation of Treasure Island. But yeah, brilliant. The Disney film isn't very good.
Treasure Planet.
Yeah, that plays around with it. There's been numerous short adaptations. The best one is Muppets Treasure Island.
So my last one, and this is an interesting one and very new, Lost in Space. So the original show is in fact an adaptation of Swiss Family Robinson.
Yeah.
So I'm taking that as an adaptation of an adaptation of an adaptation.
Are you on about the Matt LeBlanc film?
No, that was a Lost in Space
Right,
adaptation.
okay.
So basically Lost in Space originally came out, I don't know if it was in the early 80s or something like that, or possibly in the 70s, but that's an adaptation of the Swiss Family Robinson. And then there's the new Netflix show, which is what I'm choosing, is now the best version.
Is that currently on? Because I've not seen that.
It's currently on Netflix. It came out a couple months ago. and it is brilliant.
Is that what inspired you to do this?
In a way, yeah, in a way it did, because I was reading up about it, and like they mentioned, it's Swiss Family Robinson, and nothing wrong with the Swiss Family Robinson. It's just a dated story now, and Lost in Space, the new one, is amazing, and even for people who aren't sci-fi fans, it's quite they rein it in on the sci-fi, if you know what I mean. It's very more science fact than science fiction, even though there is kind of science fiction.
Is Matt LeBlanc in this?
No, he is not. Oh. But yeah, it's brilliant. If you're after just a nice adventure series on Netflix, Lost in Space is the way to go, and it's better than the Swiss Family Robinson.
My choice is The Animals of Farthingwood, my favourite kids show, which is quite dark. My favourite kids show as a kid was Animals of Farthingwood, but I've watched it again recently on YouTube, and it's horrific. They literally deep dive into the death of loads of animals. Now the book did it, but I think as a child getting to see characters, you didn't have to deal with that quite often. It was almost every episode as well. Mrs. Hedgehog stops in the middle of the road. She turns and goes into a ball. So her husband, Mr. Hedgehog, won't let her die on her own, so goes and rolls into a ball next to her, holds her hand, and they get flattened by a lorry. So yeah, my final choice is Animals of Farthingwood.
And there we have it. There's our list of films and TV shows which are better than their books. Did you agree with us? Probably not. But bring on the hate, because we can take it. Especially give it to Adam.
And if you had any that you think we missed off the list, let us know in the comments, and have a great week. That was Fresh Happenings.
It was what?
Fresh Happenings.
Do it! Just do it!